So that is the basic building block of HTML document. Let's actually build an HTML document, okay? Now remember, what I said is that HTML programming is all about understanding how these tags work, okay? And what you can put inside and what you can assign as attributes and how you organize them, okay? This is not something that you can logic out, okay? This is not something that you can say, oh yeah, this is logically how you would put it or whatever. These are just things that you learn over time. And as you do more and more web programming, you will learn, you know, how to organize a table tag, how to organize a link tag, how to organize a paragraph tag, those kind of things, okay? You will learn that over time, and you'll learn that as we go through these examples. Okay, so let's go back to Sublime. Okay, and if you don't have your file open already, you can go to File, Open, and open the index.html. Okay, and here is our document. Okay, so we can start typing whatever random stuff here. I'm gonna blow up my text just so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, and we can type whatever we want here, okay? But I said the basic building block is a tag, okay? So every web page starts with an HTML tag. So let's type that out, okay? So less than sign, HTML, okay? Now what's interesting about Sublime and certain versions of Sublime is it's smart enough to know that you are typing tags. And the way it knows that is because you've named your file index.html. So Sublime is doing some fancy stuff here that it will do automatically for you. But let's just type it manually so you guys understand it from the beginning, okay? So you can ignore the fact that this is popping up and just type as normal, okay? All right, there we go. So we've got the opening HTML tag. Now, like I said, it's always a good idea when you're programming HTML that whenever you open a tag, right away close it so you don't forget about it, okay? So let's close this tag. Okay, so the way we do that is we're going to type basically the exact same thing, but with a forward slash, okay? So we're going to do less than sign, and then we're going to type the forward slash, and then HTML with a close, with a greater than sign. Now, if you guys were watching closely there, you'll see that I was somehow able to type that really fast. And that's actually not me, that's actually Sublime auto-completing it for me, okay? Because it's smart enough, again, to know that, well, you always have to close a tag anytime you open it, so it's going to automatically type it for you. This is not the case for all text editors, okay? And again, if you're just learning, you can just manually type it out yourself. There's no difference, okay? So you can kind of manually type it out. Now, again, Sublime is going to auto-complete it for me, but basically, it's like the same thing as I'm manually typing it out just like that, okay? Same thing in Notepad, same thing in any of these other text editors, okay? So I've opened the tag and I've closed the tag, okay? Now, what's cool about Sublime too is that Sublime kind of does what's called syntax highlighting. So what it does is kind of color codes things so you can kind of like read them a little bit easier, okay? The color coding though has nothing to do with the actual code itself. The code is just plain text right in there, okay? So now that we typed that out, let's save. So let's hit File and Save. Okay, so let's save now. Now remember, I said this is not a white space dependent language. So that means if I kind of do spaces in between here, or spaces like this, okay, it doesn't really matter, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple spaces in between, because I know as a web programmer, I'm going to start putting stuff in the middle here, okay? Now the next tag I'm going to type, okay, the next two tags I'm going to type, one is called head, and one is called body, okay? And I'm going to put those in between the HTML open and close tag, all right? So again, this is something that you learn. It's not something that you can logic out, okay? So now that you know that you put stuff in between the HTML tag, okay? So I'm going to put the head tag. This is a different type of tag, okay? And just like the HTML tag, I'm going to close it right away, okay? So less than sign, forward slash, and look at that, it closes it for me automatically, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing with a body tag, okay? So body, and then close that body tag, okay? Now, let's save this again. So File, Save. Now, one thing you should know is that, again, it's not white space dependent, so I could leave it like this and everything would be fine. But it gets a little bit hard to read in terms of what is being put inside what, okay? Sometimes we use the word nest, okay? Like you have the head tag and the body tag that are nested within the HTML tag, but the head and the body tag themselves are kind of sitting side by side, okay? So sometimes we call those siblings because they're sitting at the same level. Now, if you read this here, I mean, okay, there's only 6 lines of code here, so it might not be that hard. But as this thing grows, it may be really hard to kind of track down what is a sibling and what is nested inside, and so on and so forth. So what programmers usually like to do is we like to indent things that are nested in, so that things that appear at the same level, we can kind of easily read. Okay, so for this head tag, I'm just going to tab that in. Okay, so I'm just going to hit the tab. And I'm going to do the same thing for the body because that's at the same level. Okay, so now you can see that, okay, I know that head and body are indented, so these two are at the same level, and HTML is kind of sitting on the outside of that. Okay, so this is a good way to organize your code, is kind of indent things that are kind of at the same level. Okay, so I would usually call head and body siblings of each other, and head and body are children of the HTML tag. Okay, now again, because this is not white space dependent, I could also enter a space like this. Okay. All right, I could do it like that. Okay, just putting some extra spaces in between, but the indenting still remains the same. Okay, so we've added HTML tag, we've added a head tag, we've added a body tag. Let's make sure that's saved again. So file, save. Getting in this habit of regularly saving is very important. Okay, and the last thing we're going to add, okay, is something that will actually have an impact on your document when you open it in the browser. Because right now, it's not going to have any impact actually. Okay, so the last thing we're going to add is a title tag, and that actually belongs nested inside the head tag. Okay, so inside the head tag here, in between the head opening and closing, we're going to add title. And then, as always, we're going to close that tag. There we go. And in between the title tag, I want you to put the name of your website. Okay, so we file, save, and now our first HTML document is ready to be viewed in a browser. So let's do that. So let's go over to Chrome. Okay, we'll open up a new tab so we can see it in our new tab here. We'll file, open, and we'll go to that folder. So dev, web projects, my first website, index.html, and hit open. Now, when you do that, the page will look blank, okay? But if you look at the very top of your window, you'll see my first website, okay? Congratulations, you guys have finished your very first HTML document. We'll see you in the next episode.